Just like Gigak, I am the man who likes his trash. I love isekai series, and maybe it's innate trash panda in me that loves this self-fulfilling, mass-produced McDonald's quality series. But I just love them, and I don't understand why. Maybe it's because of my innate desire to escape reality. Maybe it's because I want to change some parts about myself that I do not like. Or it's maybe because I want to have harem full of underage girls. Anyway, if you want isekais, we have a bunch of them. We have demon lords reincarnating and working at McDonald's. We have people reincarnating as sentient vending machines. We have people reincarnated as slimes, monsters, women, the most disgusting creatures of them all. And so many different series that just vary from quality to quality. From horrible to slightly less horrible. And with so many different series, almost every single aspect of isekais have been explored, so it's incredibly difficult to create an original isekai series, so it's just better to create, I don't know, a fantasy, instead of creating just another isekai where a 50-year-old man gets reincarnated and gets a harem of cute girls of questionable ages. But it's not really fun anymore. When you have seen over and over one same type of story, it becomes boring, it becomes uncreative. But what if there is one part of isekai that has never been explored before? A question of what would have happened if the main character decided to be honest with his parents and tell them about his reincarnation. And thankfully there's actually two manhwas that managed to explore these questions. Two of my most favorite manhwas of all time. The Beginning After the End and The World's Greatest Estate Developer. But before we begin, I just want to tell you something. No, don't worry, it's not a sponsor. I do not make money doing this shit. This video will contain some spoilers for both manhwas. So if you have not seen them, I highly recommend you to pause this video and go read these two amazing manhwas. With that out of the way, let's begin. To explain the beginning of the end, it's very simple. If you have read or watched Mushoku Tensei, it's basically just like that. But with a protagonist whose schmickel doesn't get up every time he sees an underage girl. Jokes out of the way, it's a story about a man named Arthur Wayne. In his past life, Arthur was a king, a very powerful one, who at the height of his power will lose his life and get reincarnated to the world of magic and fantasy. His mother Alice and his father Reynold are very supportive parents, and they will continue to support their son unconditionally until that fateful moment. Throughout the entire story, Arthur will disappear from time to time, sometimes of his own volition and sometimes not, but eventually he will return to his family. The first time he disappeared, his sister wasn't even born, and by the time he returned, his sister already learned how to walk and speak her very first words. So his parents are basically used to him not being there all the time. Fearing that maybe this is the last time he will see them, he goes to his parents, making sure that his sister is out of sight, and tells them everything about who he is, where he came from, and the entire reincarnation process. And his mother loses her mind. She shakes him, asking him if he lost his mind. Is he okay? Does he have a fever? Why does he lie to her? She is in complete state of denial and she's going through a mental breakdown. And his father completely accepts it. Because in his mind everything makes sense right now. His incredible abilities, his crazy intellect, his knowledge, his inventions, everything makes sense now. And that revelation that his son is actually somebody who is older than him breaks him. He doesn't even call Arthur his son anymore. He calls him Sir. It's like how he's talking to somebody who he has never met before. And thank God Eleanor didn't hear any of this, because just imagine how child will be able to process that. But the part that managed to sting the most is when his mother Alice asked her husband what would have happened if Arthur was never born. What child would have taken his place, and would that child be their real son? And throughout this entire thing, Arthur can barely speak, he can barely hold his emotions, and he basically lives to face this terrifying threat, potentially may never come back. And his parents are just left there to wonder, is this actually the first time their son was honest with them? It's a really heavy moment in the story, and I didn't want to tell you about everything that happened. I wanted to intrigue you just enough so you can go and read the story on your own. Please do it, it's an incredible story. And now to my second favorite story, The Greatest Estate Developer. It's a story about a man named King Shuho who managed to get reincarnated into a fantasy novel that he read one night. But instead of being reincarnated as a main character or a hero, he got reincarnated as disgusting alcoholic failure of the son named Lloyd Frontera. And let me tell you, Lloyd is not your round-of-the-mill thug. He is violent, evil, corrupted, and every single person in that kingdom despises him. So just imagine how hard it would be if you got reincarnated in the world where everybody hates you. But Suho Kim will make it work. Through the body of Lloyd Frontera, he will change the way people look at him. He will invent new technologies and ways of living that will benefit his people. But this is such a drastic change in his personality, and people will start getting suspicious. The first person to get suspicious of him is his best friend and the main character of this story, Javier, as well as his brother Julian. They will discuss the drastic change of his personality, and Javier will also do some investigation on his own, but nothing concrete will come out of it until Lloyd admits to him who he really is and where he comes from, and Javier accepts it, because compared to Lloyd, Suho Kim is a godsend. Sure, he is greedy, arrogant, cunning, and he has such a disgusting face that you just want to punch, but he never breaks his promise. And later in the story, his parents will also question who he really is, and Javier will be forced to lie to protect his identity. And even though lie he made up was so stupid and idiotic that only the most brain-dead individual can believe in it, because it's Javier, they automatically believe him. And of course, this is just a small part of the story, but please read this manhwa. It's absolutely hilarious. It's one of the most funniest manhwas I have ever read. And I was bursting out of laughing every time when stupid shit happened, which is almost all the time. Honestly, it's a shame. It's such an interesting concept, such an interesting questions that so many isekais fail to answer. Because when you look at a typical isekai, it's always the same formula. Overpowered protagonist, loli, big titties, and the power of friendship, and bland MC that doesn't have a gram of personality in him. But what can you do? Some people just want an escape fantasy where they can live their wildest dreams. And the others decide to play Genshin Impact, but you know, we all have flaws. Or many of them. So yeah, this was just a short video that I finally managed to make because I finally found some free time from slaving for my corporate overlords. Because I guess when you start working, you have to give up on your hopes and dreams. So you can expect the next video when dinosaurs return. Be well, and I hope to see you again.